I don't know if you know what EDC is.
Electric Daisy Carnival.
Yeah,
in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. They made a documentary about the Electric Daisy Carnival in 2013, and I was in it. I was one of the main groups of people that they shot for it, and so I had a lot of like that from that, you know.
Damn. Okay.
And then just from throwing raves locally, so like nationally, locally, or kind of ish recognizable from that. But it's been really cool, like. Because of that documentary, a bunch of people from like all over everywhere added me on Facebook. And so I have all these just random ass raver friends from all over the place. And it's really cool to like look into other people's lives, you know, I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And you find these like super sick people like live in like Michigan, you know, they have no idea. And I'm like, wow, I would have never met this person had I not done that, you know. But...
Dude, can we try?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Pull up, wait, life straight. Pull up, wait, ice skate. Pull up, wait, crime pay. Pull up, wait, slack, 20 cars, matte, black, surfing at a wrist cars, 10 to pink toes.
I said, I ain't with that bitch. Flick her to the dog like a bitch. I set up the laws before I quit. She slept at the house, I bought her a Chris.
What's up, mate? Got cake, mate. Got cheese, mate. Got bread, mate.
Okay. Wait, where am I? No, I do not trust her. No, I do not trust her. She say that she love me. Also say she love him. Yeah, she must be geeked up. A legal substance. She is not a keeper. Got her from my cousin. She was on my phone line. Study bustin'. Now she want a slow grind. She said I was nothing. Hug me with them closed eyes. No, she sucked it. And I wear my clothes tight like I'm David Ruff. Handcuffed, that's a normal. You can't cuff me. I can't do no one-on-one. I'm not with no stuck shit.
All right, guys. Nick, thank you for having me come on, or thank you for letting me come over to have you come on. I really appreciate it because you're just one of those people, like, I feel like a lot of people know who you are or like have at least heard about you. You know what I mean? And like what we were just talking about, like you do a lot of gnarly local shit, like SOE, for example. And I just want to dive straight into that if you don't mind.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like, dude, what happened to SOE? Because that used to be a thing that happens.
Oh yeah,
frequently.
what? Like, how did it implode?
Yeah, or like it's not happening anymore, to my knowledge.
Yeah. So like, we were going really strong for like 4 years, and the venue that we were using, which was like a majority of our capabilities, because we had a large space where we could store all of our art. And then we also had like a low venue cost. And then they would just let us do literally whatever we wanted. And like, that was huge. And they had financial issues and ended up going under. And that caused, you know, our biggest problem was trying to find another venue after that. And then obviously Corona happened and that kind of shut it down too. We were at another smaller venue. And then, you know, we're basically in this downtime. We've just been preparing. We built a 22-foot enclosed art trailer because now we have to haul all of our art to wherever we set it up. So our production is going to be a lot smaller than it was and a lot more work than it was. Also, at the other venue, we could leave like 75% of our lighting equipment up because they would use it too. And so we would just hardwire shit and leave it. And we would come in and you just boop, 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 turn it all on. Damn. Now we have to go in and set every single thing up. It's just a pain in the butt. So, you know, we'll be looking for a venue that is, you know, the best that we can find. You know, I spent probably 6 months just really diving into trying to find a good venue, or even we looked at buying a piece of property or buying an actual venue space ourselves, but financially it wouldn't work out. And the coronavirus really showed us that that was a bad idea, because parties are something that, you know, are like people can do when they have time and money. But if times get hard, you know, if you have this massive mortgage for a building, you're not going to be able to pay it. So
yeah,
you know, we're definitely going to be going with the model of renting a venue space from somebody else, unless somebody comes along that has an ungodly amount of money that's just like, yeah, fucking let's buy this and just throw parties in it all the time. But that's the dream. But we're working with what we have. So yeah, we basically just been remodeling all of our art. All of our art got fucked up at the very end. When the bank repossessed it, they basically took all of our art and threw it in dumpsters, and they hauled off 2 massive roll-off dumpsters of our art to the dump before we even found out about it. And so we went in and were able to salvage the rest of our art from the dumpster. So we've been repairing all that art and then rebuilding art that was destroyed, which set us back like massively.
How and why did it even get repossessed?
So this is a long story and also has some sensitive things in it. But to my knowledge, there was basically the cartels in San Miguel wanted to use the venue as a drug laundering facility, and the owners wouldn't launder for them. And so their next best option was to put them out of business so they could buy the building and then do that kind of stuff with it. I don't know if this is true. This is what the owners told me and kind of what it seemed like based off of everything that I saw around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they succeeded, you know. I mean, they're pretty powerful. They have a lot of connections. They had connections within the bank, within a lot of other areas that they were able to pull and tug and drain them over the course of 2 years until where they had to do it. So somebody else bought it. We don't even know who owns it, but nobody's done anything with it. And I think they're just kind of like waiting for like things to blow over and then like reuse it however they're going to use it. But I don't know.
You're telling me SOE got shut down because the fucking cartel bought it?
As far as I know, from
Really?
what I could tell, I don't, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's just, you know, my opinion of the situation. They drained them so that they could, you know, put it out of it so they could use it, which is what sucks. You know what I mean? But like, it was just, it was a really cool venue because it was like out of the way where like nobody bothered you and you could do like whatever you wanted. And the owners were super cool. Like one time I was like, hey, can I like hard mount a zip line inside the venue? Like I have to screw into like structural members of the building. And they were like, fuck yeah. Like as long as I get to ride it afterwards. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to find a venue that's going to let me do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they didn't care if, you know, like the insurance probably would have never, you know, allowed that, you know, but they were just allowing it, you know? But yeah, that's kind of what happened. You know, it's just an unfortunate turn of events. Otherwise we would be moving full of steam ahead. We were building like a lot of ground and gaining a lot of art and doing a lot of good stuff until that just like massive thing hit us. And we've just been trying to recover ever since.
Do you actually believe, like, when I think of San Miguel, the last thing I think of is a drug cartel? Do you think that actually exists in San Miguel?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. To my knowledge, it's a large, like, heroin distribution center. And I've talked to a couple sheriff's officers and other law enforcement people who mentioned, hey, like, we're, you know, investigating this area and or the ranch for like money, drug laundering for like heroin and stuff. And I was like, well, I work pretty close with them. I've never seen anything like that from my end, you know, and I don't think that they ever were, which is also why I think that they ended up getting shut down because they weren't.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, I don't know. But it definitely is. You see some hood rat, or not hood rat, but like cartel types running around out there. It's the reason why it's a good place is because it's just out of town, just far enough to where there's not a lot of cop and law enforcement activity. Like I said, but I don't know. This is all just stuff that I've heard from people and things that, you know, you talk to different people like the sheriff's officers and owners, and you kind of build your own like idea of what you think happened. And that's kind of like the conclusion that I came to.
One of the dopest things about SOE, like besides like all the physical technicalities of it in terms of like the people, the lighting, like all the equipment, the art and stuff, what I fucking loved about it is like me being like just an average person. like a lot of us have work Friday night, Saturday night until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. The thing is, SOE went until fucking like 3, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's like I would get off work and it's like, oh, dope. I have 6 hours to still get there. So like that was my favorite thing because I usually always work Friday night, Saturday night, you know, like especially like in the restaurant business. And I just remember meeting up with a shit ton of friends, taking like a car or two and just fucking going.
So much fun.
No, literally
so many
much
people
fun.
are like, dude, like those like 4 or 5 years were like the best years of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, me too. Well, we had a great time.
Literally, like, you gave us something to do. You gave us a guaranteed fun weekend once a month where like something was happening. You were meeting up with people and you were going to a nearby city, which is out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And like what you were saying, like the location was prime.
Yeah.
There wasn't like be as loud as you want. The cops ain't coming.
Exactly.
The cops don't even know it's there probably, right?
Yeah. I mean, they did. Yeah. But they're just, it's sheriffs in law enforcement area.
Okay.
And so there's only like, you know, 1 or 2 sheriffs for that entire area. So they're not going to just be, you know, they would come in, you know, and I'd be like, hey, like, you guys need help? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, they're just in here to check out the hot chicks. Like they knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they would just do it. But they were cool, you know, like we weren't doing anything wrong. And so they weren't doing anything to us. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely, you know, drew some heat from them. Like they're like, oh, what's going on here? You know, and they would also post up sometime looking for DUIs and stuff.
Yeah.
But we were pretty good about like over the radio announcing like, hey, over our intercom announcing, hey, like everybody don't drink and drive. If you do, like we'll find you a ride. And people would come up. We'd get like 2 to 5 people per event that said like, hey, like wasn't planning on drinking. I ended up drinking. Like if you can find me a ride. And I would just say, hey, somebody needs to go to Paso, somebody needs to go to St. Louis. And then people would just come up and take them. It was like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. You know, it was very like inclusive and very like community driven, which is something I've always wanted to like create and something that I've always thought was missing every time I go to another community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's usually just like a company that's throwing it either because like the DJs just want to DJ or the dudes just want to make money. And they weren't really concerned about like cultivating like a community that like cared for themselves. And that was always like my intention was to try and, you know, make that. And I think that community is really important for people's mental health and for happiness. And, you know, you can't find that a lot of times. And this was a place that you could just come no matter who you were and you wouldn't get judged. And everybody was like super fucking cool. And, you know, I thought it was a great thing. You know, I'm going to be working on that for the rest of my life in one fashion or another. But I learned so much about, you know, how to do that. And my intention is to, as part of our website that we're building, is to put the blueprints for how I did everything so that somebody else in somewhere in some small town can create their own events and basically not have to go through all the blunders that we did and figure out like, hey, like this is how you can like, you know, coerce people into doing various things. Like we had our event standards that people had to abide by to be there. And I think having those rules that everybody knew really kept people in check and people knew like how they were supposed to behave when they showed up. And then if people didn't behave, everybody knew what the rules were and they would basically enforce it within it of themselves. I would say like 90% of the issues were like handled in-house by just random event goers. Just being like, hey, like you knock that off. If you don't, like I'm going to go get somebody and you're going to get kicked out. And they would always just behave, you know, but we had very few issues. Like when you go to the bars, there's fights all the time.
Fuck yeah.
Maybe, you know, 1 or 2 mild scuffles at the very beginning before we really ratcheted down and started putting the rules in. And then like at the end, we actually like downgraded our security because we never needed them. We had like 5 security guards and we went down to 2. Because, well, first of all, we had enough guys that all knew they were like security guard community members. They were just big jack dudes that like took it upon themselves. We call it like community like roles. So like as part of the community, you can find a way that you can contribute. And if you're a big dude and you want to take care of people, you can take it upon yourself to like make sure people are behaving and go handle it before something goes wrong, which I thought was really cool too, you know, to be able to like, you know, handle a lot of that stuff within our community without having to have like an external source.
Just doing the right thing. You know, see some shit going wrong.
Yeah. And then people would, you know, come tell me, you know, hey, like, you know, this guy's like talking to this girl and she seems really uncomfortable, but she's like not saying anything about it. And then I would just go watch for a little bit and see if that was what was going on. And then I would either go talk to him or I would just have somebody else go talk to him if I was busy.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, hey, like, can you go talk to that guy? And they would just go like set him up. And
Yeah.
and then he'd either be good the rest of the night or he wouldn't be, and we'd have to kick him out. But most of the time people, just corrected their behavior. We're a big fan of like, everybody's human, everybody's messed up, everybody, doesn't know social things, you know what I mean? And to just kick somebody out of a community just because they need a little bit of work, we didn't think was appropriate. And so our first goal was to try and like help them understand and teach them so that they could, get along better in the community. And then if they were just jackasses and refused to try or whatever, then we would end up kicking them out. But our ban list was pretty small. It was probably about 10 people at the end of it.
How did that even go down? You banning people?
We'd get their ID, take a picture of it, and then write their name on a list. And then the security guard at the door, as he was checking IDs, he would just memorize the name of whoever, who was not allowed in there. The people who got kicked out were for like pretty severe stuff, like raping people confirmed or
at the event.
No.
Oh, okay.
So what was interesting about our social things was that your actions outside of the event would prevent you from coming to the event, if that makes sense. So if we found out that you were doing fucked up stuff in the community,
you ain't coming.
Then you weren't. You know what I mean? And if somebody could prove that you were, then we would ban them. And so, some girl, for example, will say, hey, like, my boyfriend beat me. Here's a fucking restraining order.
Okay.
The court ordered it, and so I'd be like, good enough for me. like if you got a restraining order against your chick, like you probably shouldn't be here anyways. Like don't be wrapped up and stuff like that. So, or even just people being, rude and mean to each other. Like some people would be like talking negatively to others and saying mean things to other people on the internet, and I'd see it and I'd be like, dude, that's not what we're about. Like, that kind of energy can ruin a party. You know what I mean? Like for everybody, if somebody's coming in with that kind of stuff. So just to protect people, we would, remove people based off of that kind of things. And, there was several occasions in which those people expressed remorse and, kind of did their time, and we let them come back to the community to say, hey, like, you're on a short leash, but make sure you behave yourself.
They were able to kind of like make things right.
Yeah, and I would say like you got to go apologize to the people that you hurt.
Dude, is there any way that you could get in contact with the people that took like let's say that rumor is true, that like some drug cartel or whatever like got the venue like for themselves? Is there a way to come in contact with them and see if you can if you can go there at the nighttime, like
the people who own the venue?
Yeah, or like
So we thought about that, but what's Quinn? We thought about that, but
no fucking way. No fucking way. What's up, Blizzard Player in here? What's good, man? No way! You're doing an interview right now?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Dude, say it up to the camera, Quinn. It's over there.
Oh, what's up?
Oh, shit.
Hey, Ariel, how are you? Good. You interviewing Nick?
Dude, I had to.
Fuck yeah. Of course you had to.
Yeah. Dude, how have you been, bro?
I've been awesome. How have you been?
Chilling, bro.
Chilling.
Haven't seen you in a minute. How you been?
Yeah, I've been alright.
That's good, man. That's super good.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta see this.
Yeah. No, we're
you did one with Sean too.
Yeah. Oh no, I saw that. That was gold.
Dude, I want to get you on here if you're down.
Yeah, no, I told you I'm down. That'll be interesting.
We're just talking about some SOE stuff right now. Did you? I feel like I never went to SOE with you.
No, you did.
I did?
You definitely did. I've got documentation of that shit.
Okay.
You just don't remember.
Dude, the next best thing, it sounds like, is for you to just say fuck it and buy your own property.
So I literally spent 6 months investigating the legitimacy of that, and I came to the conclusion that it absolutely was not the jam. There's so many costs associated with it. Not only do you have your what's it called, your mortgage, but you have insurance, you have water, you have electricity, you have the building of the venue. You know what I mean? Like in the amount of money would be $1.5 million minimum, I'd say.
1.5 million.
Well, to do what we wanted to do, we wanted to have an indoor venue,
Big.
and not necessarily big, but like the same size as the ranch or even a little smaller would have been okay with me. But building a building from scratch is not cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even doing like metal structures. The problem is a lot of the permitting. So we wanted to do like a big party space and then have a bunch of little cabins all over the place on the compound. So you could like rent a cabin and then to go back and party at your cabin, and it would just be this big. You could either be at little cabin parties or you could be at the big party. But because a cabin is a habitable structure, just the permitting for each cabin was $12,000, and my cost at building a small cabin like that is $1,200. So, and then how many cabins do you want to build? Well, if you do 10,
okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just way expensive. It'd be more cost effective to do one big long barrack style, That way you're only doing the permitting, the 12,000, and then you'd have a bunch of rooms in it. So you'd do like a little hotel on the side, but it's just, I don't have the money to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and then the mortgage on that's just insane. Like, and that power, you know what I mean? Like, it's too much. The reason why we can do what we do is because the venue is doing all kinds of other things the rest of the month to get money. And, that offsets all the cost of everything.
Yeah.
And how many parties can you throw a month? You know what I mean? Like you really can't even throw more than like one, because people are, going to be on rest weekends, or they're going to see their parents, or they're going to go out of town for another party. More than one. So we did a lot of testing when we were doing it, like doing, every other week, or doing Friday, Saturday events, or doing till 8 a.m. events. And, what we ended up settling on was the, once a month was the most cost effective for us, because it's a lot of energy and time and money to put it on. And if not that many people come to it, it kind of sucks because there's not many people. And then it just didn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But trust me. Like I think I might have even posted it on Facebook, but it'll be on the website eventually. So when people like say that, I can be like, here's all the math. Like I literally did so much homework to figure out. I looked at all the local properties, got like median prices, like everything, and it just doesn't work. You'd have to do other stuff with the venue. You know what I mean? You'd have to have other communities using it. And we looked at that too. Like the fire performance community could be using it, but like, we kind of want to use it at the same time because A, it's on Saturday, and B, like it's nice to combine the fire performance community and the rave community because they enjoy doing performance and then they get to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What we did was we just provided free fuel for them. And so they would come spin and they wouldn't have to pay for any of their fuel. And then everybody got to watch them or spin. So it worked out pretty good. But I mean, you're not going to get a venue in St. Louis that's going to let you do fire performances. No. You know what I mean? It's just not. And then, and half the people weren't necessarily accredited in any way. They were just people that are in the community that did it for fun. And so I would imagine they would want everybody to be like, insured and stuff.
Well, and like in SLO, if you did anything like that in SLO, like the neighbors and the noise, like SLO's kind of compacted.
Yeah.
You'd have to do it on the outskirts and some
There's
fucking valley.
a couple of venues in industrial areas. Even the Grad was in kind of there was a lot of residences nearby it, which is what I was mind boggled that, they didn't get the cops calling them all the time. But there's a couple other ones that are in SLO that are in industrial areas that have less houses around them. It's just few and far between. And then whether or not, most venue owners, when I say, hey, like we want to throw events there, and they say like, what style events? And I go, oh, they're more like EDM, like raves. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And one of them outright said like, no, we will absolutely not throw any rave style events at our venue.
Damn, dude. What's the point of the venue?
And you know why? Is that they had just opened. They had thrown a rave style event. I don't remember who it was through. It might have been Collective or something like that. But some college kid came in and roofied some chick. And there was like some drama surrounding that. And so they were like, we're done. And I'm like, first of all, just get roofied at the bars all the time. Yeah. And that's not even really the rave community that's doing that. That's just random dumb college kids that came into that. Like that's not what rave kids are about. You know what I mean? So
Those are like the white Cal Poly kids.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like they're just like, I don't know, bro jock fraternity dudes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different style of person. You know what I mean? And
For real.
we noticed a couple times that we would do promotions specifically towards that crowd, and it brought people that were making the party worse. And so we were like, let's not focus on that crowd, and let's focus on other crowds, you know. And so, and it sucks, you know, like they're just young kids that want to party, but they have a lot of bad behavior that's unchecked. You know? And ours is about, you know, checking your behavior and having to behave a certain way, and they weren't used to that. They're used to like unbridled, unedited big house parties in St. Louis where you can just pee in the corner or do whatever you want. Like that's not really what you could do there. So a lot of our people, you know, they were, you know, they're just random people from around the community, but a lot of them, you know, they had a lot more tact and you know, they kind of saw what it was about, and so they're more like genuinely good, kind people. I thought that came to the events because that's, you know, you kind of like draw people to you by like creating this aura, I guess.
Yeah, no, there was for sure just like an overall, just like the vibe at SOE. It was literally just like peace, and, like just happiness.
Yeah, I just hug random people all the time. I just run up to him, like, I don't know you, and I'm like, it's cool, dude.
A lot of just people like out of their like shells, just doing whatever they want.
It was really beautiful too, like to watch a lot of my friends grow as people too. You know, they'd come in and they'd be really shy and they'd be like afraid to wear costumes and afraid to talk to people. And you'd see them like 2 years down the road and they'd just be shedding all that stuff and turning into this like really beautiful, unique person. And I'm really honored that I could be a part of like helping them do that, I guess.
Yeah. It sounds like you're kind of hinting that SOE is not over.
No.
Like you've been doing the research, you've been doing the homework, you've been looking at, okay, how much is this going to cost? Like,
yeah, it's not over for sure. Like we just spent, I don't know, $5,000 on the trailer, and we spent an entire month with like 5 people just grinding to build this thing. It's actually pretty sick. The entire interior of it is white, and then we splatter painted everything and put like decals all over it to look really techie and modern, like a spaceship kind of. And we put black lights all in it too. So the intent is to load all of our art there, take it there, and then at the venue there'll be this trailer outside with like beds and couches and shit in it, and you can go in and hang out in there too, and there'll be like sound systems. Yeah.
Can we check it out after this?
Yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah.
And the cool thing about it is I'm a very hypersexual person, and I think that the best kinds of parties are the parties in which, you know, sexuality is open and you can do whatever you want there in that regards. And when you're at a venue, you can't really do that like legally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, we would always go fuck in the VIP bathroom, and or I would go fuck up in the rafters. I would put like a 30-foot ladder, and I would go up into the rafters and throw like beanbags and shit, and I would go fuck over the top of the rave while the rave was
Damn. Okay. That's like a dream come true.
Yeah, it was so sick.
Jeez.
Yeah. But so like for our, you know, the goal for that would be it to be like a sexually open space that you could go at the party, right?
Yeah.
And so like it's not at the venue, it's out in the parking lot, it's not associated with them. You know, maybe the venue doesn't even know what's going on with it potentially, if they would get mad at that, you know what I mean? And then people can go out there and do whatever they want to do.
Do you think SOE would be a thing again within 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, SOE is going to be a thing again, well, whenever COVID lifts. You know, but that's, you know, is that going to be 5 years, or is it going to be 2 years or 1 year? The question, you know, I did a lot of research on that, you know, pandemics and how long they last. And the conclusion that I came to was that like the shortest pandemic that I've seen was like 2 years, with the average ones being like 5 to 10 years.
Do you think this could go 5 to 10 years?
So here's the thing, like you're doing, you know, let's say the vaccines, but it keeps altering itself.
Yeah.
So those vaccines aren't possible. So it could potentially just keep going indefinitely, or a lot of the times what happens is they just die out for some unknown reason. And so you're basically kind of just waiting until, you know, something magically happens where it just stops working on people or something like that. But, you know, we don't know the answer to that. That's the best answer I have come to. And, you know, as far as our plans for SOE and that, it's basically just to make sure all of our equipment's ready to go and that we have venues that we know we want to talk to. And then as soon as and it's not going to be as soon as it lifts, right? So whenever it lifts, it may still not be a socially appropriate time to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really concerned with like public perception, and people might see us going back and throwing parties too soon as being, dangerous for the community and creating a scenario in which people can harm themselves by, getting it. And so, there'll be a period of time after everything opens to make sure everything's good. And that public opinion of going out and doing things is, more people are towards it.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it. Because think about it. If we threw a rave and somebody got sick and they gave it to the grandma and the grandma died, the fact that I chose to throw events would be the reason for that. And then we just don't want to do that. It's like not really worth it. So
where would, let's say everything like just like snapped in like back into place and everything was perfect again this summer, where would even the venue be at?
My main one that I really want to try and get in is what is it called? Bang the Drum Brewery in St. Louis. They're a new location. It's like over by Crux Climbing Gym. It's very industrial, like no houses around it. It's got a cool outdoor spot, cool indoor spot, lots of room. The girl that owns it, I've seen her throw like mini paint parties at their old venue. They would have fire performers at their old venue. She's younger. And so I feel like of all the venue owners, she's probably the most, I guess, would be the most willing to do it.
Yeah. Open.
Yeah. So, I guess we fired out an email to her a while ago, I think, and she was just like, "Oh, we're not even, the venue's not even open yet, so we'll figure it out." And then Corona hit, and so I was like, "Okay, well, I have a whole business plan already typed up. Actually, I think it's right there. Bang the Drum business proposal." And so, whenever that comes, I'll just hand it to her or email it to her and see what she says. The other one would be. It's another brewery that just opened in Atascadero. I forget what the name is, but it's over where Harley Davidson was. They've got a really big indoor space. They've got like an upstairs space too. She's like, "Yeah, we have this huge upstairs space we don't even know what we're doing with yet." And I was like, But she also said like, "Hey, like let's just talk after Corona because who knows? Like we could be shut down, or we could go under or whatever." So that's kind of after she had that, I was like, "Okay, you're right. Like I shouldn't be hitting anybody up until it's like ready to go." So. But those are the two big ones that, I've really looked into that have the most, I guess, promise.
How did you even like get to the point where, hey, I'm going to be having these raves in San Miguel at this bar? Like, how did that entire process even like happen?
So
like that takes a lot of time, money, effort, planning, coordinating, and connections, right?
Totally. Yeah. Connections is a huge one too. So, my partying started when I was young, right? I would invite people to my parents' house and throw parties. And then I would, I had my first place away from my parents' house and I'd throw parties there too. And then I bought this house and I like really just decked it out. And then I came up with the concept of like trying to create the perfect party or like party editing. And you can adjust a bunch of different things like the lighting and the music and the people and like the things that you do during that time. And so I was really just working on, I called it the VIP party like projects. And so I was just throwing those like, once a month, twice a month. And, people had kind of heard about them and some people had like been to them. And this Chris Lazareris, I don't know if you know who he is. So he'd come to an after party at my house after a rave at the GRAD, the Collective Efforts event. And he was like, "Hey, like my parents own a venue in San Miguel." He's like, "You should come like, collaborate and throw an event with me. I really like the stuff that you like do here." And so that's how it started. His parents owned the venue. So we got like a really good deal on the venue and they would just let us do whatever we wanted because it was his parents.
Yeah.
We threw events with him for probably, I don't know, 2 years. I think it was almost 2 years exactly. And then our relationship declined because he wanted to do different stuff with the venue and he just had a lot of different things and we clashed on a lot of stuff. And so we ended up stopping throwing events. So anyway, we just clashed on a bunch of stuff. So I stopped throwing events there. I pulled out I was like, I mean, I'm over it. And then I was going to go back to just doing my private stuff here. And then he was throwing events there. And then his parents kind of got in a test with him, and they kicked him out of throwing events there. And then like 6 months later, they called me and they were like, hey, like, I know this is kind of weird, but like, we really loved like the events that you guys threw. And, you know, we're looking to fill like an EDM slot at the venue. So would you be willing to come back? And I was like, oh God, that's some sticky stuff right there. You know, like I didn't want to like, you know, do something that was like off-putting, and you know, you definitely seemed to the community kind of like off-putting too, you know. And when I really sat down and I was like, you know what, it's like, it's not about me, it's not about him, it's not about them, like it's about providing cool parties to the community. And like the whole reason why I started doing it is because when I was younger, there wasn't anything cool going on, you know. It's like, oh, let's go party, like nothing going on. And I was fully capable. I was always whining that there was never anything going on, and I was like, you know what, like if anybody's capable of doing that, like you're the person, so you should try and do it. So I kind of feel obligated to provide that for the community because it was something that I wanted when I was a kid and didn't have. So I ended up starting throwing events there, you know, threw events for another 2.5 years until it went under.
So did you go to high school in SLO County?
Tuscadero.
Okay, so were you born in SLO County?
Yep. We grew up in Santa Margarita out in the country. Out in the sticks, and then and then I went to a private Christian school from 2nd grade to junior high, and then I tested high school after that.
That's probably where That's probably where some of this energy stemmed from you being placed in the private Christian school or whatever, you know, because a lot of people are so rebellious. They're like, dude, get me out of here.
I was not the type, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that had, well, I mean, I don't know. Half of the people that went to the Christian school either were like super devout, like Christians, and went to Biola afterwards, or just like turned into absolute drug addicts and went off the wall. And like, I just, you know, I remember being a little kid and being like, none of this shit makes sense. Like, you want me to like pray to this imaginary person?
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed everything seemed wrong. And then when I got old enough to like basically make my own decisions, I was like, yeah, this isn't like, I don't believe any of this. And so I never, you know, maybe I thought I believed it for a couple of years when I was younger, but, you know, and when I got any, like maybe past like 8 or something like that, you know, I was like pretty over it. But yeah, you know, it's funny, like going from a Christian school to doing this, but I just think that I was like this all the time, and I just got the shit luck of the draw and got put in a Christian school. How it happened was, I was in my 1st grade, I came home and I flipped my mom off, and she was like, "Where'd you learn that?" And I was like, "Oh, I learned it like from school." And she's like, "Oh, well, you're not in public school anymore. Send me to private school."
Fuck.
I didn't even like know what it was.
I'd been so mad if that happened to me. I'd been so mad.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, my parents are still like, they're pretty conservative, but over years of me being myself, I've pretty much worn them down to the point where they like don't even care anymore. They're just like, whatever, he's just going to do whatever he's going to do.
Did they try stopping you at one point?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, well, they you know, for years they just thought negatively upon me for my lifestyle and the things I chose to do. And they didn't really see all the positives, you know what I mean? Like how it helped people become better people, how it created community. It was this massive creative outlet. Like there's so many good things, which is why I do it. You know what I mean? It's got like just positives across the board. And they didn't see it until they got older, you know, and then they were like, oh, like I actually took the time to like, they came to one of my raves one time. I had this picture I was looking at the other day of somebody flirting my dad and giving him candy. I was like, I love that picture. He had a little glow stick and he was like waving it around.
Were they like dancing and shit?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they're older and they're pretty mellow. So
Okay.
I just set them like a little VIP area with some chairs.
And they were just watching
Yeah, they hung out. Yeah.
Dude,
They hung out and watched it. Yeah. It was pretty sick. Like they came to a rave when I don't know if you're familiar with the sensory overload chamber is at all.
Was it a box?
Kind of,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like it's a project that I've been working on for years. It took us 4 years and $30,000 just in raw materials to build.
Okay, maybe I haven't heard of it then.
Yeah, so it's this trailer. It's a 16-foot long trailer, and it has like a 10,000 watt sound system in it. It has 2 18s underneath the bed firing up and 6 dual coil 10s on the sides. And then it's got a bunch of lighting systems, lasers, RGBs, lumen discs. and you basically go inside this little spaceship and you can just blast it. It's sound insulated on the outside. It's got scent diffuser in it, so every 2 minutes it pumps in 30 seconds of lavender, tea tree, eucalyptus oil. It's basically like a sensory overload experience.
Yeah.
And so I had just finished that, and that was the release party for that. And I also proposed to my wife that same party too. So my parents went to the first rave. I released this project that I've been working on for 4 years, and then I asked her to marry me all on the same night.
The night that your parents came to SOE is also the night that you married Ariel?
I proposed.
Yeah. Dude, congratulations.
Thank you.
That sounds like a badass night.
The proposal was sick too. I had all my friends like write "Will you marry me" on their butt. Each butt cheek got a different letter, and they all got confetti cannons. And they came up onto the stage and like pantsed themselves and then fired the confetti cannons over their shoulders.
Dude, that's sick.
Yeah,
that's so sick. That's how marriage should be.
Yeah,
that's honestly how marriage should
be. We actually
be.
had 2 weddings too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we had a rave wedding and a traditional wedding.
Okay.
I was only going to have a rave wedding, like a big fat party.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, no, like we want like a traditional wedding. And I'm like, okay, but like we have to like have some party elements.
Yeah.
And like, so I was like, and you guys all have to pay for it because I'm not fronting the money for like all this stuff that I don't even really want. And so, yeah, they paid for a majority of it. I got them. I was like, hey, like for our first dance, we want like 2 like 40-foot long Chinese festival dragons. And they were like, what? And they did. They bought us these 2 40-foot long Chinese festival dragons, and me and her were the head. And then all of our friends were on the tails, and we fucking did our first dance with these 2 Chinese dragons.
Do you still have the dragons?
I do. Yeah, they're out there in the thing.
Dude, okay. Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's sick. We actually took the dragons to a festival in San Luis. I forget what, Shebang?
Yeah.
Yeah, we took it to Shebang. And we just
They're probably stoked.
We just ran around the festival, yeah.
Dude, Shebang could probably learn a lot from you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that everybody should be watching other events and seeing what they're doing right and doing wrong and trying to, improve themselves.
Yeah.
But I also think that events also are it's good that they're different. You know what I mean? Like everybody shouldn't be an SOE event because
That's true.
It's all the same thing.
That's true.
They have a different style and a different crowd.
Yeah.
And, so do most of them. But like, there's definitely some core concepts that I think should really be incorporated to every party. I think there should be a set of rules that everybody has to agree to come in. And I think they should be upheld. Like it pisses me off when I go to some other party and like dudes are just grabbing chicks' butts and they're like obviously don't want it happening and nobody's doing anything over it. It's like that's not acceptable, and you're going to be driving away people, the hot girls, from the parties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, would you want that? Like the hot girls make the party, so like you can't. You got to protect them and make sure that they're happy and comfortable and they want to wear sexy clothes. You see, I don't know if you see, like people are dressed like absolute sluts at our party. It was amazing, and that's like even I very rarely go. Parish's parties in Hollywood are the only other places that I've seen people dressed like hypersexual like that at a party. And it's because they know. You think about if you wore that down to the bars in San Luis, what would happen to you? You'd get groped and just assaulted. You know what I mean? And so like you have to make a comfortable space for them.
Yeah.
But I hope that I could go back and go take my sensory overload chamber to their event eventually, the one in San Luis.
I like how you said that, like these people that are dressing how they're dressing and like looking like as fabulous as they're looking, like there should be like you need to protect these people because they're putting their life on the line.
Yeah, they won't.
They're showing up.
Think about it. I mean, I'm not a girl, but if I was a girl and I dressed like that, I would know that guys are going to be coming at me like that, and it would make me not want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if people are going to be respectful and you're going to be protected, then you're more apt to do it. And like, yes, we want them all to be wearing thongs and pasties all the time. It's great.
It sounds like everything that you're doing is right and like what you want to do.
I think so. Yeah.
For
but
real.
I mean, that's just my own personal opinion, and I don't try and pretend like I know everything. But, I spend a lot of time studying what is right and what makes the most sense and looking at other people's parties and stuff. And so I think that I've come to some pretty good conclusions after putting in all that time and effort to try and figure it out.
And the thing is, you're still super young. So like in a sense, like hopefully this is just the beginning for you. Like there's a ton of life left for you to just keep living.
And my goal is, to have what we create kind of go indefinitely. So, I hope it never stops, and I hope it just goes to the next person in line that is, you know, passionate about it and is the right kind of person to do it, you know?
Yeah.
It takes, you know, I have a lot of friends, but it takes a right kind of person to be like the kind of leader to lead that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to deal with all the really tough stuff that comes up, the inner disputes, and you have to like I think you have to be humble too, you know, and not like let your ego get a hold of you and just drive the way that you do things. You know, you got to be thinking about others. Otherwise it ruins it. You know what I mean? Like, I see the leaders of a lot of other event companies, and when I'm like assessing them, I'm always like, I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that, you know, like, and then I just kind of, I guess, sculpt myself based off of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, would you say you've been a good leader? Or do you
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have gone way out of my way and put a lot of effort in that I did not need to ensure that other people were heard and taken care of. And I study leadership a lot just for fun and because of my position, you know, and I think that, you know, you can't do anything without a good leader. You know what I mean? It's disorganized, and, you know, stuff doesn't get done right. And, you know, you get so much farther when you take care of people and you treat them with respect, and you know, be a good leader. And then, you know, that's, I think, that's how we got so far. You know what I mean? Is that we didn't fuck people over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We took care of people and made sure that everybody felt like they were being like adequately rewarded for the efforts that they put into the community. Because I've seen other communities and they screw people over, and they don't, you know what I mean? And they don't treat them with, you know, they don't appreciate them for what they're doing, and it causes their community to kind of like implode on itself, because then they don't have the people to do stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not paying your performers, then they're not going to want to come perform. If you know, you're not showing, you know, we give people, you know, free tickets all the time for helping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I call it equal energy exchange. It's a really important like life skill to have, but you just need to make sure that, you know, if people are giving you something, you need to give them something back, if that makes sense, in some form or another, to make them feel like your relationship is mutually beneficial.
Yeah, that's that kind of plays off of like what I think about every day. Like, I don't know about you, but me personally, and I'm kind of an extremist in a lot of ways, but I think our current leaders and just like the government and the system, I think it's like really corrupt in terms of like, they don't listen to the community. They're not doing what you're doing in terms of like, hey, like, let's talk, let's figure out what the problem is. And like, you, the community, like, I want to hear your solution, community. Totally. And like, me being the president or the leader or the fucking local politician or whatever, they need to be able to adjust and be able to recommend and like fix the fucking problems and stuff. Like, it seems like everyone in power today, all like, they're just there for money.
Yeah, they do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah,
for their own personal gain, and it makes everything shit. Yeah, it drives me crazy. And I think that, you know, it was really nice having our SOE Ray Family Facebook page, because that was like my main avenue to like talk with people and say like, hey, like, what do you guys think about this? Should we have a 2-day event, or should we do it till 8 a.m.? Or, you know, what do you guys think? Have you guys noticed any? Because like, I have my own vision of things.
Yeah.
But like, are you noticing that people are still not behaving the rules? And everybody's like, oh no, everybody's doing good. You know, like, just to like, kind of check in and see that kind of stuff. And a lot of our art and stuff's collaborative too. You know what I mean? I'd just be like, hey, like, what do you guys want to make? And people would come up with ideas, and then we would just use the community funds, and then people would come that wanted to help, and we would just kind of make everything.
Dude, I know a really good artist, and like, hopefully SOE like pops up again sometime in like the near future. Cause like, I feel like they would definitely be down to like link up with you and like make something, cause they make some crazy shit. I'll show you their Instagram after this. But
it's interesting too. You talk about artists. Are you talking about musical artists or?
No, I'm saying like sculptor, painter, like trippy though, like not normal shit.
Yeah, I mean, our art idea is like, I don't know, I'm a very of the people kind of person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that like the event should be created by the people, and what that means is that various artists that want to come in and contribute and make it, then, you know, we can use our funds to buy all the stuff, and then we can have other people that want to help them make it, you know. And then we all get to enjoy it. We're also not very set up like a traditional company in which everything is like a contract and there's like money and exchange involved. Like, pretty much everything's like friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, like I'm going to come in and build this art and you're going to give me this amount of money. It's just like, hey, like, you want to come to a cool sick party and like help with a party? And
Yeah.
you'll get free tickets and whatever you want. And like, and so it's all just kind of like that, I guess, there's very few people that were actually on physical money payroll, and it was all like kind of exchange and either tickets and parties or whatever. But, and anytime anybody ever approached me in the manner of wanting to do business, like the way pretty much everybody else does business,
Yeah.
I always just said no, because like, that's not just kind of the energy that I wanted. You know what I mean? I wanted people to be there because I wanted to be there, and I wanted them to build art. I want to be a part. Like, when you pay, like, one time we paid a DJ. They're like, "Oh, you need a big name DJ," and I was like, "I don't think this is a good idea, but whatever." And they did it, and like, they literally just like came, like DJ did like a terrible job, and then just like left. And I was like, I don't want somebody who's just going to come use us as like a fucking paycheck. Like, I want somebody who wants to be a part of the party. Like, all the DJs that I know are like all my friends, and they like party, and then they DJ, and then they come party with us afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like, they are there because they want to be a part of the experience, and they want to create it, and they love it, and they love the people there, not just this distant person who's up on the podium and does their thing and then leaves.
For real.
So, since then I haven't done really any big name artists, and I prefer to give people who have minimal DJing experience or just the little guy an opportunity to come play, because as long as their music's good, it doesn't really matter to me. A lot of people need like the big name, but I just, I think that music at a party is there to be a backdrop to social interaction. And a lot of people go to events because they want to sit and they want to stare at the specific DJ, but that's just not what I want. And so that's not the kind of event that I want. But I feel like things like collective efforts were more geared towards, going and listening to music and seeing a specific DJ.
Yeah.
And so that was good that those people can go do that. But like, that's just not what I wanted to create. Like, pretty much everything was basically just to get people to connect with each other. Like, that was the intent of everything. All the art, like, is meant like those big, I don't know, the big boxes that you could get inside.
Yeah.
So like those, like, you crawl in there and then some other random strangers crawl in there, and then you guys would be friends by the time you left. And like, I thought that was really cool that you could like make art that brought people together. And so, we try and make as much of it as we can, that style, and not just pretty to look at. But
so your first SOE was in your 20s then? Or was it?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm 30. So 20, yeah, probably. I don't even know. It's like probably 27-ish, maybe.
You said that one guy that you knew hit you up and said, "Hey, I like your vibe. I like how you party. Like, come do this over at my parents' thing."
Mm.
Their parents were the original owner of the ranch. It was called the Ranch, right?
The Ranch, yeah.
Okay. And how did you know that guy, from high school?
I just met him at a rave, a collective efforts rave in St. Louis.
Damn. Okay.
I need to go pee real quick.
Dude, I thought these were all empty bottles, but these are like all full.
Mostly full, yeah. Unless you drink a little bit of them.
Are you good at like making drinks, or?
Yeah, I used to be. When I used to do it all the time, I used to do it. But I stopped for a long time, and then the girls were like, "Oh, we want to drink. We don't really want to drink." And I was like, "I can make you a mixed drink." And they're like, "You can make us mixed drinks?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I made a mixed drinks, and I've been making mixed drinks the last couple of months because they've been really liking it. But
this is probably like thousands of dollars worth of alcohol, right?
Yeah,
I'd
say probably at least like 3 or 4.
Fuck. Some of these are expensive, huh?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like the Dom Perignon, that thing's I think like 150. I think.
Jeez.
Or that one, this one I hear, the Remy Martin's like 175.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Gotta have the blue carousel.
Right? It's a good mixer.
Yeah.
Girls love it. It's like, oh, it's blue.
AMFs. We just made some stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think that was kind of, you answered most of my SOE questions. So like SOE really first started for you mid-20s and up. It wasn't like in high school or anything like that.
No, like I said, that was the progression that it took, was the throwing parties at my parents' house, throwing parties at my first house that I got, and buying this house. And then when I bought this house, it went into the private parties, like edited parties. I don't know if those words mean anything to you, but
Filtered.
Yeah, so like
certain way, certain music.
yes,
certain way.
like the people specifically were very filtered, right?
Yeah.
Like in order to bring very specific types of people into the party to like create an experience, like there's types of people I call party starters, which are like very Quinn is a party starter.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody who like they could really ever be sitting around like low energy
Yeah.
and they'll come in and they'll like ramp everybody up into a frenzy and like find something fun for them to do, right? Like a certain party has to have like a certain percentage of them be party starters. There
Yeah.
has to be a certain percentage of hot girls. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff. Like support people that like enjoy taking care of people when they're too fucked up. Or kind of stuff like that, and so you like kind of just like with potions concoct it and then see how it goes, and then I would just retry it with different people and different things, different music, different activities, and then from there, like I said, then I got the opportunity to do public events, and I was throwing these private parties and I'm like, man, like these are the best thing that have ever happened to me. And I feel guilty that I'm just sitting here in my little castle, like enjoying this experience and like not giving it to other people.
Yeah.
And so that's when I got the opportunity to do it on a public scale, because the whole problem with private parties is that they're exclusive and you're excluding people. And, I have a lot of friends and I don't really enjoy excluding people. You know what I mean? And so it was a way for me to give what it is that we created to everyone. And people, even though the public parties existed, they always still wanted to go to the private parties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's difficult because like I have a lot of friends and there's not really anything wrong with them. I don't like dislike them or anything like that, but it's just like, you can only put so many people in a house. And, it's, if I'm going to choose, it has to go to those people that like have the most positive things to contribute.
Yeah.
And the average person, I would say 90% of the party community just comes to use or enjoy, not necessarily bring. And so when I think of a private party, everybody's coming with the intent to bring something to the party that they're contributing. You know what I mean? And so that's why most people, wouldn't be able to go to that style of party because they're just not the type of person that like, for example, like if you wear like super crazy costumes, like that in and of itself is like a positive because you get to experience this party with this person in this crazy costume the entire night. It's basically like a form of like visual art, I guess, that you're looking at it. And I think that makes costumes, I think, are a massive part of parties, and that's why I always push people at our events to, dress up because I thought it really made it. And whenever I go to other events, there's like a abysmally small portion of people actually dressed up, like 10 to 20%, where ours was much higher. It was probably like 60, 70%, I'd say. And so, stuff like that. So I guess success. And so I did the private parties and the public parties, and then I guess they should do. But my intent is to always have the public parties going if it's possible, and then to pass that on to the next generation, and then also to create that blueprint so that people in other areas can basically recreate what we created with minimal effort. So that because like even though I'm throwing parties for our local community, that doesn't do anything for who knows where Indiana. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people don't throw events because they don't know what to do. They have no idea where to start. And if you just have this like blueprint, it's really not that hard. You know what I mean? You just buy a bunch of lights. You don't even need a DJ deck. You could just get some speakers and hook a phone up to it. You know what I mean? Like you just need people. You know what I mean? Like you need a place to hang out and to express yourself and to let loose and to have fun. And that needs to be a thing that's everywhere. If I had unlimited money, I would do kind of like a thing where I would go to a bunch of different areas where I found somebody that wanted to run one, and I would just set them up with equipment and stuff, and then have them run their own thing, and basically just try and proliferate it and make it be in as many places as possible. But
did you go to college?
I did. Yeah, I went. It took me 5 years to get a 2-year degree in fire science, which is basically like a firefighting specific degree. I hated school. I was terrible at school all the way through. I barely passed high school. Failed everything all the time. I failed pre-algebra in college 3 times.
You just weren't trying?
I just am dumb. I literally I have like massive ADD,
Really?
I want to be working on art projects and not on some math problem that I don't think is valuable to my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, math ended up being valuable to me, but only in the form of construction math, like light geometry and stuff like that, times tables.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I don't necessarily have a need for it. And I kind of like knew that while I was doing it. And so I was like really unmotivated and just wasn't my thing. I don't know. English too. I'm terrible at writing and spelling and all that stuff. I heavily use spell checkers, and I have several friends that I pretty much send almost anything that I do through, and then they send it back to me and let me know if I fucked it all up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just, anybody that's, you know, not good at school, I think it's okay. You know what I mean? I think different people are good at different things, and you just need to find what it is that you're good at. And, you know, I'm really good at my job, I think. And I'm also really good at, you know, getting people together and throwing parties.
Yeah.
And, you know, those two things both make me feel very fulfilled. And I don't, you know, I could have never even gone to college and been fine too. I didn't even need a degree to get what I am doing currently. If I promoted more, it would have helped me, even though I didn't really need it. But
can we talk about your current job at all? Avoid it.
We can, yeah, as long as the department name isn't mentioned.
Got it. Okay. Can I ask what you do for work right now?
Yeah, I'm a firefighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said they know a little bit about SOE, your lifestyle.
Yeah. You know, I'm very open with people. I'm open with everybody about everything all the time is my general like rule of thumb. And it's hard for me not to do that, honestly. Like I want to share and, you know, express, and, you know, I'm excited about the stuff that I do. So it's like fun to talk about it. But yeah, people at work had issues with it, you know, when I was younger, before they understood me really. And then, you know, over time, as people got to know me, then they kind of like were over it, or over having like an issue about it. You know what I mean? I think that my personality, you know, definitely rubs the average person the wrong way, because I'm so different and they have no idea like what's going on. And it seems like I'm just like this out of control hedonist, which isn't really too far from the truth, but I'm actually like a very ethical out of control hedonist.
Isn't it fucked up though? Like that's the world we live in, where you're this awesome, great person.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But it's also just the reality of it. You know what I mean? You know, I call them normies, you know, people who are not extra, and they behave in certain ways. They like everybody.
Tradition.
They like a lot of conservative views. They like people to behave in the same way. They like people to behave the same way they do. They're not very open to other ways of living and things. And I've noticed, you know, in general, like society as a whole has become more open and understanding than it was 10 years ago. Which is really cool. But, you know, I never really held it against them, you know, like you're welcome to feel and think whatever you want, as long as you're not like physically, I mean, you know, and they would attack me, you know what I mean? People attack me online all the time at work, you know, they would talk shit about me because of my lifestyle to other people at work, but like, I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, it sucks, but like my view is that if you live a good life and you're kind to everybody, you know, eventually people are going to know that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, and you know, how it works out usually is somebody will talk shit about me, and then they'll be to somebody that I know that's my friend, and they'll be like, yo, like you have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like that at all. And it's really interesting. People will tell me things that other people say, and I'm like, where did they even come up with that? Like, they just come up with total stuff that is not even remotely true, and I have no idea where they even came up with it from. You know what I mean? And I'm like, they're just like inventing things, or I don't know, or it's just telephoning from other people who are making stuff up. It's really strange to me, like that they could come up with that stuff. But like I said, it just comes with the territory of being like an extra person that's different. You know what I mean? There's a saying that, you know, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. And, you know, if you're going to be the nail that sticks out, you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to get some heat.
Shade.
Yeah. You know, but it's okay. You know, when you're younger, you know, what other people think of you, you're very like conscious about, you know what I mean? And, you know, I think everybody should be to a certain extent, but the way that I think about it is that, you know, if this person is so low vibrational and underdeveloped that they misunderstand you and want to be negative towards you, I really shouldn't care about what they think. You know what I mean? And so, you know, what, you know, upstanding, you know, responsible, contributive members of the society think about me, I think that that's important. And I really try and like maintain that. But, if you're just somebody who's a racist and you just don't like ravers because you don't like the way they dress, sorry, bud, you can go have that thought by yourself.
Isn't that shitty? You can have like this career. Okay, first of all, before I even say that, I think your career and your like professionalism in that career, as long as you are being a good, like healthy employee and doing what you are there to get paid for, I think the shit you're doing outside of work should be completely open or private and like not take any like shade or grief. And as long as you're not harming other people, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want outside of work and have that not get brought to you or like, oh my God, like here's this video of Nick over the weekend, like fire him. I think that's fucking bullshit.
I agree with you.
You could be the number one employee, but get taken down.
Yeah.
There was something that happened like last year or some shit. It was like, I like heard about it through like the news or some shit, but there was like an employee, I don't know them personally, but there was like an employee and their like wife tweeted something. Oh. And then the employee got fired because of like what the wife tweeted. Dude, that's your private life. Yeah. Freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. Do and say what you got to do, as long as it's not harmful and disrespectful. If you want to go rave it up, you should go rave it up. And then right when it hits Monday and your time to go clock in, be a damn good employee and get your shit done.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that, conservatism is the opposite of what you just said, which is, I'm personally very opposite of conservative. I think it's kind of a poison, and a lot of people won't like to hear that, but poison for society, because it makes stuff like that happen. You know what I mean? Like where people are intolerant of other people and they want people to be the way that they want them to be or behave that they want them to be. And it's like, that's not how it should work. Everybody should be able, as long as they're not hurting anybody and not doing anything wrong, they should be able to do whatever they want to do, and you should stay out of their stuff. But and then, our area is very conservative relative to some other places. And then the fire department as a whole is also a very conservative organization. And then you have boomers, which are even more conservative than the younger generations. And so those are the people that are in power in the fire department. So that's why people have issues with that specifically.
Have you had issues where people at your work, like, have you ever had like issues where like
kind of like in...
Yeah. I'm trying to get this up a little bit. Keeps falling down, but I'm tightening this shit out of it right now. Have you had issues at work though, like certain situations that like ring a bell where you've had to, like, let's say, like explain yourself to a higher up authority and be like, yo, like I'm doing nothing wrong, like this is my weekend to be able to do what I want to do? Or is it not escalated to that point?
Yeah, it's more like it's like a spread out lot of like smaller instances where people like say things or hear other people have said things. But it's a lot better than it used to be. A lot of those boomer gen people are out of power and have retired, and it's a lot more younger generation people who are a lot more understanding and a lot less conservative. But, it is what it is. Like, I chose a career that is like the polar opposite of like my other things that I enjoy doing. And so it's just part of it. And, it's up to me to just navigate that and, try and not get myself in trouble by, doing it. But, I don't go out and like talk with it about people that I know are very specifically conservative and stuff. And I definitely like, I leave it out of work. Yeah. For the most part, unless it's somebody that's like my age and is cool. And like, they ask me about it all the time. And so like, I, enjoy talking with them about it. So I will talk with them, but.
That's funny. Yeah. Can you go to work with like your piercings and stuff?
No, I have to take them all out. Everything that I wear is removable.
Oh,
for that specific reason.
Damn.
And I actually prefer them to be removable if I haven't had a choice. I did have one permanent lip piercing a long time ago, but the fact that it was always there and I couldn't take it out, like when you're sleeping, like you don't want fucking metal in your ears and stuff. And so it's nice to take it out. And then I work outside on projects in the cold all the time, and then you get snot all builds up all over it, and it just doesn't work. So like if I'm outside working, I take it out. But if I'm like partying or hanging out, I leave it in.
Dude, that's sick. That's super sick.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would, I don't know why that's not the norm to have like easily removable jewelry, because then you don't have to worry about it. But
you just described some like interesting aspects, like snot building up on that shit out in the cold. Like
Yeah.
I would have never thought about
Yeah.
that.
I mean, most people aren't out in the cold working a lot. And
Yeah.
so I'm just unique in the fact that I like to do a lot of projects and stuff outside. And I definitely noticed that when I wore it out there, you know, it would just build up on it and you couldn't wipe it away because there's this thing in the way. But yeah, you know, I would definitely like to get some like tattoos on my arms and my neck and stuff. But like work has prevented me from doing that because it's permanent.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the last 5 years, the acceptability of tattoos has become like huge or like a lot more acceptable.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably end up getting tattoos here pretty soon. But, you know, it'll be just one more thing for them to be like, oh, that guy.
Do you have some sort of seniority there now?
I am the most senior of the firefighter rank.
Are you serious?
Mhm.
Dude. So you've had your foot in the door then.
Oh, yeah. I've been working for 13 years, I think. Mm-hmm.
So you started at what age then?
19.
Fuck. The good thing of this not being live is if you want to, because I got to go home and edit all this shit. If you want to text me, say, yo, take all the work shit out.
Yeah.
Edit, delete.
I mean, I think it'll be okay. It's just on one of those borderlines where you're like it could. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
real weird about stuff like that. You know, let's say somebody like sends that footage to them,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Hey, he's like talking about being a firefighter." And, like they could still kind of come after you.
Yeah.
But the fact that you don't say the department specifically
Yeah.
would make it so that they can't really like, oh, well, I didn't say who I could be working for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's just, you know, even if it goes to the chief and he has to see it, that's just more heat on you that you don't really need potentially. But I think it'll be okay.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah.
Have you lived in SLO County your whole life?
For the most part, I lived in Santa Maria for 6 months for my fire academy. And then I lived in Sonora for 6 months while I worked on a heli-tac firefighting helicopter. And then I moved back here and I've been back here ever since.
Would you say you have strong ties to this house?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. People are like, oh, would you ever sell this and get a bigger one? And I'm like, no, I've spent 10 years remodeling it. Like I'm not, you know,
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like it's a little small for some of the stuff that I want to do, but like, it's everything that I need really. You know what I mean? There's no reason for me to ever leave.
Well, and this shit's so custom.
Yeah.
Like there's
I
literally
know.
chains.
Yeah.
Fucking,
Oculus sensors hanging out of the ceiling
Yeah.
and robot headlights. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit.
Did
know.
you design all of this yourself?
Yeah.
Like, is this all your idea?
Yeah. So I wanted to be an interior designer when I was younger. And then I realized that like, I really didn't want to do that as a job. I just thought it was cool to
Yeah.
design interiors. And so I just have been designing my own interior for a while, but there's a lot of stuff, you know, that like understanding how things work structurally has allowed me to like tie into those beams, you know,
Yeah.
and make things that are safe. But yeah, you know, and it's been a progression over 10 years, you know, so like, 1 month I'll work on like that art piece, and then another month I would do like this wall, and then another month I would do the robot headlights.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of been just this stacking. It looks crazy now, but like it took a long time to get here.
Yeah.
Um,
How much money would you say you've invested in this house?
it's just the remodeling.
Just not even like just mainly like the cool techie like shit that like we visually see immediately.
Oh,
you know
not
what I mean? Like the
remodeling
lighting, the chains, your bedroom.
Yeah, it's not that much. I mean, like the physical remodeling was more. The physical remodeling was 25,000, and then you know I would say you know all the other extra stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but it can't be more than like 10,000. And you could do it for cheaper too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I a lot of times I had to like buy things and figure out they didn't work, you know, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like, part of our website too is going to have all of the interior design stuff that we did and like how we did it and like where to get the materials. Because people are like, oh, I want to do stuff like, but there's like 100 different kinds of robot headlights on the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of them suck. And so like, we'll just link you to the ones that we like know for sure work. Or even just doing the LED strip lights. Like they're kind of hard sometimes if you don't know what you're doing.
Really?
And so, you know, you have to know how to solder and things like that. But, you know, we've already figured all that stuff out. So it's like, hey, you want to do this kind of art in your house? Like, here you go, how you do it.
I'm guessing you have an Amazon Prime membership then.
We were just talking about this yesterday. Like I have spent a majority of my money in my adult life on Amazon. Almost everything that I buy. People are like, where did you get that? I'm like, it came from Amazon. It's just so easy because it just shows up fast. And then my big thing is that you're easy of reordering. So like if I order something, I don't have to be like, oh, where did I get that from? I know where I got it from, and then I know I can get it again from there. And so I just search for it. And if you type in LED light on my order, it's like 500 orders. Of just like every LED thing I've ever ordered. It's like crazy. But yeah, I think, people can do a lot of what I did for not very much money. And I would like to be able to help people do that. I think it really makes your house a lot more enjoyable to live in when there's like LED lights everywhere. It's just nice to hang out in.
Just a vibe.
Yeah, you know what I
really
mean?
is
It's like it makes you feel like happy and like party and home, you know what I mean? All those things like that don't come with just white light, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just boring white light. It drives me crazy. What drives me even more than white light is the normal warm light that's in people's houses with the like dark, like orangish bulbs.
Yeah.
I have to have daylight or cool light. I just cannot. It's kind of like a weird quirk of mine that I just loathe the entire orange yellow color spectrum.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to do with it. If you look at any of the art that I've created, it all has the oranges and yellows completely removed from it. And everybody's like, wow, like I like your color palette. I'm like, yeah, I got rid of the trash colors.
Yeah. There's like that normal like lamp color.
Yeah.
Just like in the corner.
It's just like, it makes everything look dingy and dirty for me,
yeah.
I think. I think a more accurate, like daylight is the accurate like color representation. It's a little warm. It could be a little bluer, but a lot of people aren't used to light that's that white, and so yeah, it's kind of a random. I have a lot of really weird quirks. I'm a very unique human.
Dude, that's custom living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think a lot of people don't really care about their space. You know what I mean? They just go into it and they like exist in it. And I'm like, dude, you should be like doing all this stuff to make it like yours and make it the way that you want it. But I guess people don't care if it's yellow. They just have always had yellow light. And so they just have yellow light. They don't know any better. But I'm the kind of person like thinks out of the box. I think a lot of people, they just, whatever is presented to them and whatever world has been given to them, they just accept it and they live in it. And I'm the kind of person where I'm like, no, I can make my own world.
Yeah.
And it's possible. Like, so let's just make your own world however you want to make it. And that's kind of what this is me not listening to what society said I should be doing and doing what I want to do.
And it seems like you're thriving. You know what I mean?
I think so. And
Like
that's what drives me crazy about other people is I'm like, dude, like, you guys could be having way more fun than you're having. Like, and they're like, oh, I just can't. Like, it literally has nothing to do with anything. Like, everybody can do everything that I do. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's just that they are like afraid to. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about me that makes me, not like I've just always been the kind of person that if somebody tells me I have to do something, I automatically want to do it the other way just because I don't want them to have to, tell me how to live my life.
Dude, I feel exactly what you're saying.
I'm just like, no. And sometimes I'll even be right. And I'm just like, no, I gotta at least look and see what the alternatives are before I make a decision. But yeah, I've been a pioneer of trying to live life the best way my entire life and really studying it and figuring out how to do it the best way. It's been one of my like biggest hobbies is to like really dive into that. Like when I was younger, I realized that you could look at other people and you could see people that were living life good and you could see that were living their life bad. And there was a way to decipher between the two. And so once I kind of figured that out, I was like, oh, well, now I'm just going to start cataloging everybody that looks like they know what they're doing. What are they doing? How are they doing? Everybody that looks like they're not doing good. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing wrong? And then, my life is basically just a culmination of focused study on that for my entire life. And I feel like most people don't think about that on a regular basis, but it's been something that's been on a major focus of mine, which kind of segues into like one of my like longer working projects that I don't really talk about very much, which is a project currently called Life Guide, but we're probably going to change it. But basically, it's everything that I've learned about everything put onto a website that everybody can access. And we've kind of alluded to like the fact that some of the things that I do will be on there, but it's basically going to be like, if you think about it, there's human wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And like, it's an acquirable thing. And it's also something that you can also write down. And if you think about things like the Bible is just kind of a big book of wisdom on how you should be living your life. It's just a really outdated version of it. Now we have the internet and we have a lot of ways to connect and exchange ideas, and you can go out and look for things. And so the concept is basically to like find as much human wisdom and compile it into a website that's easily usable by people. And another kind of use for it is like if people were raised by parents that didn't really teach them a lot of things about life, you could go to this website and like acquire a lot of those knowledge banks that you were deprived of when you were younger. I was fortunate enough to have parents that, I thought did a pretty good job of raising me and teaching me stuff. And I see a lot of people around, like they're missing a lot of that information that I was able to get when I was young. And I think that, it would really help people if they were able to download and use that kind of information.
Dude, sign me up.
Right?
Send me this website link.
And some of my friends at work, they know that I'm building that. And they're like, you need to just build this so I can go use it right now. Because they're like, well, how do you do this recipe? And I'm like, well, if I had Life Guide, I would have it up already. It's in my brain right now. But when it's done, people are like, oh, like, how do you cook healthy? And I'm like, I went to culinary school. I've been cooking all the time for my entire life. And there's all these diets and things. And it's so dumb because it's not really complicated. It's just about eating clean. It's about vegetables and drinking water and not eating processed shit. Yeah. It's literally it. Yeah. And so once you come to that conclusion, it's just like, okay, well, how do you cook those few ingredients, vegetables, lean meat, and not processed things, and make them taste good? And then there's really only a couple things: salads, soups, and stir fries. And then of those, there's only maybe like 10 variants of each, really. And so if you write those all down, then everybody's, I remember being younger and being like, oh, I don't know, like, let's try this diet. Like, what should I be eating? I don't even know. It would be so nice if they were like, this is everything boiled down. Like, you don't need all that other stuff. Like, just eat clean. And then here's how to do it. Yeah. Like, because normally, like, somebody tells you, oh, you need to eat clean, but then you got to go figure out how to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is just streamlined where everything's in one spot. You know what I mean? If you're somehow managed to stumble across this website, or people will ask me questions all the time and I have to like literally write down the answers and send it to them, but then I just save it. You know what I mean? And then so later when I make the website, all of it just gets uploaded to it. It'll basically be like a digital version of my brain that's separated from me as a resource, and that I use for myself and for other people, because I have a bad memory and I can't keep a lot of stuff in it. So I actually have a Google Keep. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's basically like an online note taking, but my entire life and everything that I deal with is all on there. It's like an external version of my brain, and my brain is so lazy now that it knows that I can store everything in there, so I won't keep stuff. I just get the information and I put it in there, and then all I need to know is where to go find it, and just offloading. And after years of doing that, it's just this massive pile of information. But it's really nice because like there's a lot of stuff that you like wouldn't remember. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I ordered this from this website a long time ago, and I needed the what's it called? The user admin name and the password. I'm not going to remember that to some dumb website that I don't even care about. Yeah. But like in 10 years, I'm like, oh, I need to go order something again. Yeah. And then you don't know. But if you just like, oh, I might need that in the future, and you just write it down. But yeah, it's one of the things that I think most people are lacking, because I keep talking to people and asking them if they use digital note taking as a secondary portion of their brain, and I haven't ran into a lot of people who actually do. They keep notes, but they're very minimal. They're not like to the extent that like mine literally is everything for my life. That's also backed up 3 times too. But I definitely noticed a 25% increase in productivity after I transitioned, because I was doing paper notes and they were all over the house all the time. Yeah. And then I would like go somewhere and I wouldn't have access to them. But now if I'm like out of the store and I'm like, oh, like what were the dimensions of that thing I wanted to buy? I don't remember. Like, it's all there. I just can't say enough of how important it is to use that style of, I don't know. I think it's human evolution. You know what I mean? Like our brains have evolved to like remember things and do stuff, but they have limitations, and we have a technology that allows you to extend yourself past those limitations. And it's just not a widely known thing to do yet. I also think that most people's lives aren't as complicated as mine. And so they don't really have a lot of stuff going on that they need to do, but I have like a million projects. And so it's like nice to be able to like log all of that info, and then I can drop it for 6 months and come back to it. And all that stuff that would have totally not been in my brain anymore is all right there. And I can just refresh myself and then pick back up where I left off.
You're kind of like a walking cyborg with all this information and the hard drives and the server and like all your shit getting backed up like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I think that, humans have evolved much further past being a human than we think they have. Have you ever heard of the term transcendence? It means we're like, humans and technology have combined together so much so that they're indistinguishable from each other. And, we're well on our way to that, but I think we're a lot further along than we are. Because if you imagine a modern human, is it really a human if you take all of their technology away from them? Like, how much of you are you without your cell phone or your camera or your computer or your car? You cannot function in any fashion the way that your life was or want to without any of that stuff. You have to have it. And I think that, we should be embracing that and realizing that and trying to amplify that and using that and find as many different technologies that can extend ourselves. So, for example, we have like a cell phone right now. I can all of a sudden talk to all of my friends. It's huge. Communication is huge, right? But let's talk about cameras. I can take a picture of things and then put that on the internet, and it can go to hundreds and thousands of people. Like, without that technology, you're not capable of giving information or any ideas or anything to all those people.
Yeah.
So for me, I very much so feel like my vehicles are a portion of me. You know what I mean? They allow me to haul stuff around and do all the stuff I need to do. My camera allows me to capture all of my art and share it with people, ideas, even chemicals, you know what I mean? Like medications that help people's brains, when they, have like, chemical imbalances and stuff. Like, how much are those people really themselves without the, ability to do that? Or even sleeping pills, you know what I mean? Like, melatonin's huge. Like, if you have to go to work in the morning and you're just wired and you can't go to bed, like, it's nice to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Like, what would you be if you didn't have the ability to just turn yourself off whenever you needed to and then be able to handle the next day effectively? I just don't think people like normally think about it like that. But and then the digital note taking is one of the other big portions of it. That's like a newer version. Like, we've all had vehicles and cell phones and cameras for a long time, but and digital note taking has been available for quite a while. They kind of sucked at but it's pretty good now. I just think that most people don't use it in that way, and that they should. Same thing with like anti-anxiety meds. Like, if somebody's anxious and they don't have a prescription for anti-anxiety meds, your whole day's wrecked because you're just like ruined, you know what I mean? But you could have the ability. There's a saying that you are the masters of your own destiny. And like, I'm not religious, but I think that like we kind of are our own like gods in a sense. And we're like, instead of being like, oh, I hope God does this for me, like, you can just do it for yourself. Yeah. Like, you don't have the power in and of yourself to make yourself unanxious. But if you can go get access to a chemical through a prescription that can help you, then you kind of just solved your own problem. You didn't need to go pray.
Yeah, you definitely manifest your own reality.
Totally.
It's your life. You have this one life to live. How are you going to live that one life? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, are you just gonna, I don't mean to be like cliche, but are you gonna be like just sit around the whole time and just kind of like, play it the safe route? Or are you gonna take risk? Or are you gonna be working on projects 24/7? Or are you gonna like do your fucking dreams that you have one chance to do? Yeah. Literally one chance. Boom, everything's over. Unless there's some sort of like afterlife where it's a second chance. Do you believe, what do you think happens when you die? Do you have any answers for that?
I think that, obviously nobody knows the answer to that, but I think that there are a lot of philosophers that have come really close to answering that. And I've read a lot of philosophical teachings of various people, and the things that I mostly agree with or align myself with are that, we are of a universal energy, and we are a part of that is separate, but still part of the whole. And that when we die, we basically just return to that universal energy and are basically reborn, but not as ourselves with our consciousness, but as another version. So humankind as a whole or life as a whole is really what you are. And so when you die, you're not really dying. Like life is continuing. You were just a portion of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like me and my consciousness gets to go have a second chance at being me. Like you're a peasant girl in China, or you're a cow in a meat packing facility, or who knows what your next thing could be. But, you know, and I guess that's kind of along the lines of like reincarnation. I feel like a lot of the world's religions explain things that are true, but the way that they explain them make them confusing, or are not in a way that's totally true. You were mentioning manifestation, and I think that prayer and manifestation are very close concepts ideologically. And that the difference is, I think that manifestation is the more correct version of the same thing. Instead of praying to something that's outside of you to change something, you realize that you have the power within yourself to change it. And then not only are you energetically putting out to try and fix that, you're actually doing physical things because you think that you're in charge and you have the power. Versus when you pray, you're like probably more apt to like not really, you know, put a lot of effort in because you just think that God's going to fix it for you or whatever. But same thing with the reincarnation, that, you know, like the Buddhists and stuff like talk about things like that, or Hindu, I forget which specific religion, but, you know, they have a lot of extra fluff on the side that isn't necessarily, I think, true. I think that when you find the trueness of religion is when you take all of the world's religions and you combine them and you see where they all overlap. They all have the same concepts. That is where the truth lies, and all this other stuff, worshiping saints and sacrificing things. But, you know, in the middle is some pretty common stuff, you know, be kind to other people, try to live a good life. That kind of stuff is pretty common, you know. I've always wanted to sit down and really make a solid list of those overlapping ideas, and really like, you know, and when I write my religion portion of our website, that will be on there.
It's like on like drop down box.
Yeah. I mean, basically it'll talk about each religion, explain the rough ideas of them and like what they think. And then the fact, and then I'll, you know, it'll just be, it's an opinion piece, obviously. Like my beliefs are that, like, you know, what we should really be striving for, what is the truth, is the thing that's overlapping in all of these teachings. And, you know, nobody's really gonna argue with the fact that those core things are right or true or what we should be doing, because most people who are in some sort of spiritual pursuit would believe in those things, I guess. Another one would be, you know, like doing things that, you know, help others. You know, I think that's really important. I think there's a lot of fulfillment and happiness that comes from helping other people. Which is why I think that I'm so fulfilled, because I realize that. And a lot of what I do is to try and help other people find happiness. And so, I mean, I don't know what other people are doing, but I have no complaints. I've just studied a lot about that. You know, they always talk about like, you do something that's bigger than yourself, that's outside of you, that helps other people, like that. Like whatever you're doing, try and make sure it's under that spectrum. And if you're doing something that's selfish and you're not helping other people, eventually you're going to feel a hole, right? And you're going to feel like you're not contributing, you know, to society. And whether or not you know that that's what it is, and you're going to be looking around trying to fill that hole. And until you do it, you're not going to feel fulfilled, I don't think, anyways.
You're definitely giving off some enlightening vibes right now.
Yeah, I've studied a lot of philosophy. I think that, you know, part of trying to live the best life is to figure out what the best way to be happy is, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of philosophy that goes into that. Like, you know, what are the steadfast rules of being happy? And that's definitely one of them. We have you ever heard of the Wheel of Happiness?
No.
Oh my God. So this is a really important concept that I pretty much tell every single person that I hang out with. And we as a family group and friend group sit down every month or two, and we go over this and we evaluate ourselves and where we have faults and where we can work better. but this is basically it. It's just a wheel, and it has personal development, career, fun and recreation, relationships, physical environment, health, money, romance. And basically, in order to be happy, you have to have a really high score on all of those things. And if you have a low score on one of those things, even if you have like a 9 everywhere else, it really drags it down to like a 3. You know what I mean?
Really?
Because, well, think about it. Let's say like you don't have a girlfriend and you really, really want a girlfriend that's making you bummed out all the time. Like you could have everything else, but are you really going to be happy most of the time? Like probably not if that's that big of a deal for you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a girlfriend and you're okay with it, then your romance is technically high. You know what I mean? It's really about like it's very subjective. So like, here's an example of somebody's, I don't know who it was, but you know, they just wrote down their little dots and then we all just talk about it. And then you go, okay, well, what do you think that you could be doing to make yourself better in this area? Oh, well, I could read more audiobooks for personal development, or, oh, I know I have this communication issue that I'm having, so I should study more about communication. Okay, oh, career. Okay, well, yeah, I like my job, but I could be doing something better. So maybe spend a portion of your time looking into other jobs that you might find more, you know, financially stable or better, you know, fun recreation. Oh, I'm working too much. I can't party. You know what I mean? Like that one's kind of a hard one because sometimes you got to grind. Yeah. But, you know, or, you know, whatever it is, your friendships, you know, your physical environment. Like, are you in a place where you have roommates that fight all the time? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, could you be moving out into a place by yourself where you don't have to deal with that? Your health, you know, are you drinking all the time? Are you eating shit food? Are you having health problems? Should you be cleaning up your diet? Like all of us are in that one, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, money, like have you been spending more money than you make and fucking yourself up that way? And then this one, I actually wrote this while I was at work one time, sitting out on an assignment. And I was like, this is cool, but it doesn't tell you how to actually fix any of these problems. It just tells you what the problem is. So this paper, this is another thing that's going up on the Life Guide, which is basically an explanation of each one and how, like, what you could do if you think that there's a problem in that area. But yeah, I forget what our initial thing was before I scrolled out on that.
Damn, dude, what a fucking pimp. Honestly. Dude, you're coming up with a new foundation.
Oh, we were talking about happiness. Yeah. So, like, you know, if you're not physically addressing your happiness and working on it, is it going to get better? No. It's probably not. And, you know, and there's organized ways. Like, this wheel of happiness isn't me. Like, this is somebody else made this. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that I do isn't me. It's stuff that other people have developed over thousands of years. And, you know, we're just lucky enough to have the internet to where we can go find all that stuff and compile it. And, you know, sometimes people will be introduced to this and not. But like, if you can build a space where all of this information like this is in one place, I think it would be really valuable. We're also going to make it completely free because we think that it's unethical to withhold information that could make people's lives better. And the only monetization that will ever happen with it will be similar to Wikipedia's, where basically they just once a year ask for donations or whatever. Or we'll probably just like put a donation button on the bottom of each screen and say, hey, if you appreciate this, feel free to donate. And whatever comes from it, comes from it. But my main goal with it is just to create this resource for people, because I wish I had that when I was a kid. You know what I mean? How much more of a boss would you be if you were 18 years old and somebody sat you down with this? You're just wasting all this time and you don't, you know, or you don't know what's wrong. You know what I mean? You don't know what to do. Like, it's just, humans have already done everything and they've already made the mistakes, and we're just not passing that information down appropriately to the younger generation so they don't have to make them. And that's basically what this is. It's like, and it's not really even just me, it's a whole community of people that are all intelligent that are coming together to create this resource. You know what I mean? It's basically like a open source communally generated knowledge bank, if that makes sense. Yeah. Sean's another really big contributor to this as well. Dude. He's just an unlimited book of knowledge.
He really is. Yeah. He really is.
Absolutely.
Damn, both of you guys should like rewrite history.
I mean, that's kind of what the intent is. I mean, if you imagine if a tool like this was available and widely used, you know what that would do to society? It would fix a lot of the problems.
They don't want it to be available.
I know.
The
A
government's
well-rounded,
bad.
adjusted person like this is not going to deal with all the bullshit that they're trying to come up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like I love Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you're familiar with him and what he's about, but he's a very, communally driven about, helping the people that need the help. And I think that when you evolve to a certain point, you become that kind of a person. When you're Donald Trump, you're more selfish. You're like a lower evolved person that cares about money and yourself. And when you're Bernie Sanders, you're higher evolved and you care about other people and you want to make the world a better place for everyone. And if you can get people to evolve, the concept, have you ever heard of collective consciousness?
Like group thinking?
Well, so you have an individual that can achieve consciousness, right?
Yeah.
An awareness of themselves, a true awareness of what's going on. And if one person achieves consciousness, they can't be evil and they can't be mean because they know that what they're doing is they're hurting basically themselves by hurting another person. And collective consciousness is where a large enough of the society has come to consciousness at the same time that that kind of bad behavior is really on the outskirts because everybody understands. If you imagined if you turned half of our society into people who thought like Bernie Sanders, what would happen, to society? It would become a much better place for everybody. And this is kind of the concept of this project, which is to bring up the level of collective consciousness to the point where it changes society in a positive way. If that makes sense.
Dude, it makes complete sense. Everything you're saying.
I never talk with anybody about this project because I don't know why. I don't really talk about it. I want it to be fully hashed before I release it, I guess, maybe. It's pretty hashed out though. No, you know what I mean? Like it took me a while to really understand what it was that I was doing. Like when I was younger, I was like, I want to make the world a better place. Like, how do we do this? And we literally had a think tank where we sat down and we wrote all the world's problems out on this thing right here, all papers. And then we sat down with a bunch of really intelligent people. Sean was there. And we just talked about ways that you could resolve these problems. And when we were said and done with all of that, we were like, the problem is ignorance. And the problem is people being at a lower level of personal evolution and a lower level of consciousness. And the solution is to bring people up to a higher level of consciousness. And the solution to doing that is to exchange the knowledge that they need. And the way to do that is to make a website and to give it out for free.
Yeah.
So it's basically, our desire to make the world a better place and then the most efficient version of that. Because you can go feed at a homeless shelter or you can do whatever. But something like this, has the potential of helping a lot more people than just the people at your local homeless shelter, I guess.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's for all of these problems to be answered, you do need, everyone needs awareness, because the thing is, once you start taking note of your own self, how you're talking to people, how you're interacting with people, because dude, all the fucking assholes, they don't either, some of them know they're being assholes and they do it anyway, they get off on it for some fucked up reason, or people just are so ignorant in a sense that they don't understand that they're being a jerk. They don't understand that they're being a bully.
Yeah, they're unconscious. They're just just reacting off of their base, totally natural human emotions and instincts that have been given to them by, you could call it God, or by just the way humans were evolved naturally. I mean, scarcity of resources, all kinds of stuff that made people that way. I think the intelligent person realizes that you can get more faster by working together as a group and not fucking people over and stealing things.
Yeah, for real.
And then even if you do make it to the top by fucking people over, you don't have any friends and everybody thinks you're an asshole, and karma is going to come back around at some point and get you. So, I think when you're truly aware, you realize that you do want to be a good person and you do want to help other people. And then that's, I guess, where it goes to. But,
have you seen the movie Inside Man? It's like a bank robbery.
I don't think so.
No, okay. There's the reason I brought it up, we watched it at my house recently, but there's this kind of like a basic theme throughout the movie, and it's the truth always prevails. Do you believe in that statement? The truth,
absolutely.
You can't, if you cover up something stinky, eventually it's going to come up. 10 years later, 2 months later.
And, and there may be instances in which, maybe there's a small chance of them getting away for a really extended period of time. But the chance of you doing something fucked up and getting fucked over because of doing that is like really high. So it doesn't make any sense to do that. You know what I mean? I don't think.
Karma is real.
Karma, yeah. And,
Real.
and like, you know, and people, even if karma isn't this magical spiritual thing that is being like pulled on by strings of the unknown, it still is a real thing in like the action and reaction of things. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you fuck somebody over and then they know somebody, then you want something from them and they tell them about what you did. Like, that wasn't something magical that happened out there. That was literally a reaction to your action, a physical reaction. There didn't have to be a god in play. You know what I mean? And I think that like that is probably the more real version of karma, is that like, it's not necessarily that there's some outside force like going to come down and just strike you out of the blue because you did something. It's just going to be because of that way that you're behaving is going to cause a ripple effect and a lot of things to happen.
Yeah.
That could lead to something bad for you later.
Can we talk about porn?
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a great closing subject.
Mm-hmm.
You said right when I got here, when we're, you know, kind of, you know, getting acquainted with each other, making like small talk, you know, kind of like settling in, you were saying some shit about porn and like creating it.
Yeah. So I've always thought that, you know, it was crazy to me that people think about sex in a negative way when it is such a social thing and such an important part of our happiness.
For real. I got it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And yeah, it's crazy that society shuns it. And, you know, and I've come to some conclusions as to why that is. Basically, it's because back in the day, before we had, you know, preventatives for STIs and unwanted pregnancies, everybody fucking everybody all the time was a bad thing for society, where you could wipe out whole swaths of society with the STI, or, you know, or having too many kids would cause a lot of pain and people couldn't be out in the fields working because they had to take care of the kids or whatever it was. And so, you know, there's a lot of social things that are developed to be against sex for that. But at the place that we are currently, a lot of that stuff's resolved. You know what I mean? And sex is really just left being this thing that is a very positive thing for a lot of people. Like I'm a very sexually driven person and I need that to be happy. And, you know, why shouldn't we be celebrating that and enjoying that and making art with it? And, you know, there's no reason to think negatively upon people for it. A lot of people are afraid to do porn or things, or even talk about sex with other people because of society. But it's like, dude, like we all want to fuck, you know, we all want to watch other people fuck. Like, it's like literally, it's just part of who we are. And we're like not truly embracing. We're talking about, you know, consciousness and evolution. And I think that a more highly evolved person realizes that sex is a perfectly normal, natural, and healthy part of your life. And that there's nothing wrong with it. And it should be communed over and talked with and shared with other people. And so I've always had that mindset as far as sex and porn and stuff goes. And, you know, I've shot, you know, a fair amount of porn throughout my life just for fun, because it naturally happens because we have sex parties and stuff. But I've always wanted to really sit down and like produce porn on like an actual like level where like my intent is to do that and to really put the time and effort and focus into it. Because I've done a lot of videography and photography, and I understand a lot about lighting and a lot about everything in that world. And I really wanted to apply all that knowledge and creativity to that specific end. And we're very fortunate to have a lot of like attractive friends and stuff. And so like, why wouldn't we do that? You know what I mean? And so we finally come to the point in my life where, you know, I think I'm going to start investing time. And in the next 2 months, we should be punching out a ton of content for that, which I'm really excited about because it's pretty fun to do and pretty fun to edit and pretty fun to share.
Are you going to be putting it on like your own platform, or is this going straight to Pornhub?
Yeah. So part of our website is going to be the main host for it, which will be like a pay per view style. And I'm going to put a paywall in there where you have to pay like $10 just to get into it, just to prevent like looky-loos and like people's moms from just fucking cruising. And then after that, it'll just be, you know, where you just, oh, this video looks cool by that one. There's not really any like super like intent to like make a shit ton of money with it. It's more of a creative fun project that can make a little bit of money. So I'm not guiding my entire vision of it off of how much to make money. Like there's probably better ways to monetize it other than that, but that's just the way that I want to do it. So I'm going to do it. And then Ariel has an OnlyFans. And so we just decided to start releasing some stuff on that before the website was up, because it's still going to be another couple months or who knows how long. We've been working on it for like 3 or 4 years and we keep not finishing it. And so we're like, okay, like we'll just set this up and have it running so that we could do something and have a way to get it out to people before we actually do the rest of it. So I think it's blonde_Annika, AUNIKA.
For her OnlyFans?
For her OnlyFans, yeah.
Should we pop that up?
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
If they want to find it, they'll do it off of my word. And then, I mean, I guess you could tag it on the thing or whatever. Or, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I haven't even done any promotion for it yet. Yeah. She's got, I forget how many it is, but like, I think she's making like between 800 and 1,000 per month. And we haven't promoted it at all. I have not made a single like, hey, this is her OnlyFans. Just because I've been busy and I haven't been ready. And I really wanted to create a bunch of really I'm a high quality everything kind of guy. And I wanted to make some really high quality content and then promote for it and then release all the content.
Dude, you guys are going to take over the fucking internet, bro.
I mean, there's definitely the potential for that with a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like this could become really big. The porn stuff could become big. The events could become big. I don't have any expectations as far as that. And I don't even really necessarily have any like desires really for it to do that. It'd be really cool if it did, but I just enjoy the art process and making it and doing it so much. And that's what I'm enjoying. And that's mostly kind of why I'm doing it. And my whole thing is like, if monetary stuff comes out of it, I'll be happy that it did.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be cool, you know? And like, I'm just, $1,000 a month to post naked pictures just in itself is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's nice.
That's literally like income.
I know.
Income.
It is. Yeah. You know, and it's like, I don't know. I just, I think I like creating art, and I think that's one of the higher forms of art because it's so taboo, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that I can create some really unique art. I've watched a shit ton of porn in my life, and, you know, I'm always really fucking disappointed at the quality being a videographer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, the backgrounds suck, you know, like the lighting sucks, like what they're doing sucks. There's nothing interesting about it. Like my main goal in shooting porn is to create like realistic sex party porn where it's like, this wasn't set up. This was just a party where a bunch of friends got together to like have a good time and fuck. And then there just so happened to be a camera in the room at that time. You know what I mean? Like that's so real. And that's so like, you know, I guess maybe a lot of fantasies regarding people, a lot of, you know, when I go to parties, I'm definitely thinking about sex, you know what I mean? And so like to hit that, I think would be a really good, and I were like very capable of it. And it's almost impossible to really do a fully 100% like raw of that. You know what I mean? There needs to be some things that were planned and stuff ahead of time in order to, but it's like, there basically is a party going on, and then we just say, hey, we're planning on shooting today, and this is what we're going to shoot. And then everybody just parties the way they normally do. And then at some point they just get sucked into it. So that like natural raw party energy is still there, which I think is like beautiful. You know what I mean? There's not too many more enjoyable things than like a fucking good party with good people and attractive girls. It's like everything I've ever wanted.
Are you going to be the cameraman and the director?
Yeah, so that's the problem is I really like being the cameraman.
Yeah.
But I also want to be in some of it too. So we have done some tripod work with me and her, or we'll give it to one of the other girls and they'll shoot it. But you really need somebody that has like a photographic eye, you know, a videographer's eye to like know how to shoot it.
Yeah.
Because you know the shots kind of come out like the content's good, but like the shooting is kind of rocky sometimes. Angles. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, like there's a way to shoot porn, I think. And you know, in lieu of me really sitting them down and teaching them that I'm just handing them a camera, like, go nuts, you know, like, so, you know, having like other people involved that are videographers that can actually, you know, do that are good. And I have a couple of friends in mind that I've worked with for a long time. Mike Fedora is definitely one of them, that, you know, I think would be good with that. But you know, a lot of the times it's very just like, you know, not very planned. We'll just be doing something like, oh, we should fucking record this. This is pretty hot. You know, there's been so many times where I got done fucking and I was like, if there was a camera in the room, people would lose their fucking minds. Like, I have never even seen porn about the kind of things that we do sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, we do some really crazy, edgy shit that is just like, you know, and that's kind of the porn that I like. I don't know what you'd like when you go to porn, but I'm looking for like fucked up shit that's like strange that I can't even find anywhere. And like, everything's just so vanilla, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, the vanilla market's just been fucking saturated. So anything that's interesting or unique or different or edgy, I think is interesting to me. I guess everybody's got different, you know, preference tastes. I always find it interesting. I've really been wanting to make a post on Facebook about asking everybody what their like top porn searches are. You know, it's kind of like a taboo thing for everybody to be talking about sex out in the open. And you're like, oh, fuck. Like, for me, it's like 18, blonde, anal. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say that out in public. You know what I mean? But I think it's healthy and fun, and it's really not even a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in seeing what other people's opinions are of pretty much everything. You know, you're in your own mind all the time, and you think everybody thinks the same way that you do, even though that's not the case. And so it's interesting to really like hear what other people think about things and what their opinions are about stuff.
So how many porn videos have you made that are just like on a drive somewhere?
I literally don't know.
Dozens.
I shoot a lot of content just for everything, for raves, for creative content, for just fun. And, you know, I have hard drives I have one big hard drive. So I guess my media hard drive is probably about 7 terabytes of pictures and videos.
7,000 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
And like literally, like I said, I haven't been shooting porn intentionally. It's just been kind of whenever. Yeah. And so, you know, I have videos and pictures of parties since I've been partying. So I need to do is sit down and go through all those albums and pull all the porn out. And then see if the people who are in the pornos are even okay with releasing them, which will probably exclude like 80% of it.
Yeah.
And then from there, use that and then just shoot more porn. The way now that we're like intending to shoot porn, it's not just like, oh, we're using it for our own personal, I call it private collection. Like, oh, we don't want this to go anywhere. And it's like, okay, like it's not going to go anywhere. But like when we're 80 years old, we'll be able to sit down and be like, that was fucking fun. You know what I mean? So like, a lot of that stuff's still valuable because we get to watch it later, but like stuff that we can actually release, you know. But now that we know that we're going to be releasing it and we're shooting it for that, we like make sure that everybody that's there and in it wants to be in it and is okay with it.
Have you ever beat off to a video of yourself fucking?
No.
No?
I value orgasms a lot, and I would prefer to have the highest form of an orgasm possible. And for me, that's literally coming inside of a girl in one of 3 holes. And so jacking off is like a very low priority.
Yeah.
And then if I am going to jack off because I don't have access to sex partners, then I'm going to be watching something that's new and exciting and unfamiliar as opposed to something that I've made, I guess.
So big no-no for you.
It's not like really a no-no. It's just not it's not something I would be interested in, I guess. I like watching it for sure, but like in not really a sexual way. Like we'll be at a party and like all the people that were like involved in a past orgy will just sit down and pull it up on the screen and watch it and laugh at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like make comments about things. It's like really fun to do, I think. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with like jacking off to my own porn, I guess, but.
You haven't done it yet.
I probably won't.
Okay.
Yeah. I just, you know, I sexually, I'm like a sexual pioneer. I need new things. New is what's exciting for me. And so watching a porn that I was already a part of once isn't as exciting as watching a completely new person doing something that I have no idea what's going to go on. So I mean, I don't really jerk off very much though, because I try my absolute best to keep myself in close proximity to sexual partners.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very sexual person and you know, going without sex for a couple of days, like literally makes me go crazy. Like I have like, I call it like a man period or something, but I get very frustrated and I get like testy. You know what I mean?
That's hella funny.
And I'll be like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I haven't fucked. Like, I'm literally just horny right now. And I'm like mad because I'm hangry. Yeah, it's really annoying. It's like a blessing and a curse. It's nice to be really horny when you have ample sex partners around because then you just can have fucking fun all the time. But if your amount of sex partners goes down and you don't have enough sex partners to like get sex when you need it, then you're just fucking miserable. There's another interesting thing is that I really think that my ability to achieve all the things that I did are directly tied to my sex drive. And I've heard people say before that the sex drive is the strongest force in the universe. And whether or not that's true, I believe that it is true. And I think that the reason why certain people can harness, like me, can harness an ungodly amount of energy is we take the energy from that sex drive and we can convert it into another thing and use that energy. It's like a fucking infinite sun that never burns out. And if you can figure out how to take that energy and turn it into something else, then you basically have an unlimited form of energy. So for me, how I did that was I realized that I really liked girls and I really wanted to have sex. And that a way that I could do that is if I built really cool parties and created a bunch of really cool art and did all this stuff in order to bring that around me. And so I was basically like working towards that goal using that energy the entire time. And, if I didn't have that massive sex drive, I don't think I would have had the energy to do all the stuff that I did because think about it. If there was just no more girls on the world right now, would I be like, let's go fucking like throw all these parties? Like,
Yeah.
'cause I'm throwing the parties because I want to go interact with my girls that are friends and have sex with them. So what's the point? You know what I mean? We should just fucking stay home and play video games if we're just going to hang out with the dudes. So I've always thought that was like an interesting thing that I kind of like came to the conclusion of later on in life as to like why I was able to like just fucking burn the candle at both ends for years. And I was like, oh, like you're trying to get laid. Like that's what this is all about.
Yeah. How many times a week would you say you have sex?
It depends. I would say on average, like out of 7 days, probably like 5 or 6, maybe.
Days or times? Fucking.
About once a day.
Okay.
Yeah, on average about once a day. And then maybe one day I'll be too tired or hungover or something to like do it or, it just depends on my lifestyle. So like if I'm working on a lot of projects, like that being mentally ramped up about like all the stuff that I need to do makes me like totally not sexual. So I can go like, a couple days, 3 or 4 days without having sex and like not even think about it. But if I don't have anything going on and I'm in party relaxed mode, my sex drive is just like through the fucking roof and I'm just like all I can think about.
Damn.
Yeah,
bro.
it's pretty obnoxious. But my wife's even more sexual than I am, so like that kind of works out.
Yeah.
So I'm never really lacking in that regard because she treats me very well, and I also am fortunate enough to have anywhere between like 2 to 4 additional sex partners at any time. So I'm like pulling from that as well, I guess, to try and fulfill those needs.
I was gonna say you are about polyamory.
Yeah, very. Yeah, you should have your cake and eat it too, for sure. Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, no, that's I feel like that's a good thing that isn't utilized enough in society. Like having like multiple partners.
Totally. I think that polyamory is a higher vibrational, higher evolution thing. I think that when you don't know enough about yourself and you don't know enough about your body, it's difficult to even communication. It takes a lot more communication and understanding of relationships to maintain a relationship like that. So if you are like have really low relationship skills and you don't know how to, I guess, what's it called? To suppress your negative emotions. If you don't know how to suppress your negative emotions, you can't do it. You know what I mean? And so the way that I and a lot of other polyamorous people unlock our brains to be able to do something like that is we take the natural emotion of jealousy that you feel when your partner's fucking somebody else, right? You feel that. And if you break jealousy down, what it really is a feeling that your resource is going to be taken away from you. And you want to try and do something to prevent that valuable resource from being taken away. But you don't really register it as that. You're just like, oh, I just feel bad inside and I don't know what it is. But if you realize that that's what it is, and you have a really strong relationship with a person, you realize that your resource isn't really going to be taken away. You're just afraid of something that really doesn't have any grounding to it. So it's really important to have like a strong relationship if you're going to go do something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is that, jealousy is really a selfish emotion. You're thinking about yourself, right? And that's not very healthy if you realize like how to be happy, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a term called compersion, which Sean taught me actually. And it's basically the concept of being happy that your partner is happy. You find happiness in the happiness of another. And so you have two ways of looking at it. Oh, my wife's fucking some other guy right now. Oh, I'm jealous. I think she's going to leave me. Or you can say, hey, like I love her. I'm really happy that she's having a good time right now. And I'm really happy that she's going to let me have a good time when I want to have a good time. And it's okay. She's not going to leave me. He's having fun. She's having fun. We're all friends. It's not a big deal. And then it's not a fucking problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just have to have these mental tools. And the average person doesn't have that. They haven't studied it. Like I sat down and studied polyamory because I wanted to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that, if you work on yourself and you give yourself the communication skills and the polyamory skills, you can hijack your mind and be able to work your life into a way that is better. If you're a guy and you like sex, wouldn't more of that make you happier? You know what I mean? And so you could be jealous. Oh, I can't let my girlfriend go fuck somebody else. It's like, okay, well now you only get to have sex with one person. So, you kind of just made that choice for yourself, but it's definitely not for everybody, only because I think that not everybody has developed themselves enough to the point where they could actually do it. I just hear a lot of people say like, oh, I could never do that. I can't do that. I can't shut my jealousy off. And, in my mind, I'm thinking all those things that I just said, and I just go, oh, that's okay. Yeah, it's not for everybody. And then, if they choose to develop themselves in the future to the point where they can do it, then they can enjoy the benefits of it, but maybe they won't. When I look around at other humans, I feel like the average person isn't doing a very good job of maintaining happiness in their life. And, when I'm evaluating why that is, there's a large portion of them because there's men that are hypersexual that aren't able to fulfill their sexual needs, either through one person or because they genuinely desire to have multiple sex partners, and that drives them crazy that they can't. You know what I mean? Like if let's say you're dating your wife and you have a coworker that's really hot and she wants to fuck you and you can't because you're married.
Yeah.
Like that is going to cause you pain, and your ability to be able to actually do that would make you happy. But yeah, I don't know. And I've talked to some people and they're like, I genuinely just want to fuck my wife or girlfriend. I have no desire. I think other girls are cute, but I would never want to have sex with somebody else. And I'm completely serious about that. And I'm like, wow, that's fascinating that a guy could believe that. And I'm actually kind of jealous because that makes it way fucking easier. There's not all this other work and stuff you need to do to maintain that. It's just easy. And if that makes you 100% happy, then absolutely, there's no reason for that person to do polyamory. I am on the far end where I genuinely need multiple sex partners to be sexually fulfilled. And even though I have a super hot wife and we fuck all the time, if I'm not fucking other people, a portion of me feels pain, and I need to fulfill that in order to be happy, which is kind of fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I almost kind of wish I wasn't like that, but I just am. So the solution to that is to just fix it by getting multiple sex partners and having my wife be okay with it. But
has there ever been road bumps?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I think everybody that goes down that path has road bumps. The reason is because monogamy has a very standard set of rules that everybody knows. So it's not really hard to fuck that one up. You know what you're supposed to be doing, and they know what you're supposed to be doing. With polyamory, it's just a fucking blank rule book that you have to fucking come up with on your own.
Yeah.
So you have to run into stuff. You both go, okay, I think we're both okay with fucking other people. And then she realizes that she's okay with you fucking other people, but not her friends.
Yeah.
And so she draws the line there.
Yeah.
Okay, you can fuck whoever you want, just can't be my friends or whatever it is. And then you just keep going. And then over time, if you can continue the relationship without imploding it, then you can build this rule book up of various things that you can do. And that's with just one person, right? But you're also dealing with a relationship with other people too. Like each person, you know, they're not just fuck buddies, really. I mean, some people could be, but like mine are my friends, you know, like I have a deep friendship with them and I enjoy hanging out with them on top of having sex with them. And so, you know, maintaining that as well is important. A lot of people have a lot of different needs and they don't communicate them. And so you got to try and like prod them to communicate. And, you know, for example, like, let's say like one of them like wanted to like date you or whatever. And like, you can't like date them in the specific capacity that they're wanting you to, like that could cause like problems for them. So that would be like a road bump until you communicated and said like, hey, like this is like how I'm available to interact with you and exchange with you, you know, and if it's going to make you unhappy, like this is all I'm capable of doing. And so if you want to just get rid of it in order to get away from that, then you can, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely bumpy. It's definitely a lot more work. There's a lot more communication, regular communication that has to happen that you don't normally have to do with a partner, like a single partner, because it's very dynamic. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But let's say you're fucking like 2 people regularly all the time, but then all of a sudden you stack like 3 more partners on and you're fucking them all the time. And then they're like, yo, like, where's like my time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just change the equation and you have to like, you know, reevaluate based off of that. I think it's really interesting. It's like expert mode for relationships.
Yeah.
It's like an Apple. They
Expert.
only give you like 2 options, so you can't mess the phone up, you know? But if you want an Android, you can do whatever you want with it. You can change the background, you can change the icons, you can do literally anything. It's just harder. You have to have a bigger knowledge base. You have to put more time and effort into it. And some people want it easy and some people want it hard, and it's okay if they want it easy. You know what I mean? Like, it's really like, it's just your own life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you want to not have it be difficult and you want everything to be as easy as possible, have a monogamous relationship for sure. You know, a lot of people have like, you know, come at me negative for me being polyamorous in my life. And I try my absolute best to not be aggressively anti-monogamous, even though it's hard sometimes. But, you know, I definitely think that it's a good method for finding happiness for some people. And they should, you know, I mean, nobody's going to feel ashamed for being monogamous because it's the standard, but
Yeah.
you shouldn't feel, you know, bad about it or, you know, whatever.
Do you guys go on like dates and fuck other people together? Or is it more solo, like, hey, I'll be back in 3 hours, peace?
Yeah, it's like a combination. And the combination's changed several times over the course of our relationship. I would say a majority of our sexual interactions are together with the third person. Usually it's either us with 1 girl or 2 girls or something like that at the same time. I enjoy like one-on-one time too. I think that the energy is a lot different because when you're in a room with like 4 people, you're like constantly like worried about like, okay, like is this other person having fun? Like, are they okay with this? And when it's one-on-one, like you both know each other and you know what you want and you know that you don't have to worry about making somebody else upset in a certain instance. And so you can be a lot more yourself, I guess, and more relaxed. But like the 3-some or 4-some or 5-some version's also really fun too, you know?
Yeah.
I just think that they're both valuable and I want to do both of them. We go hang out with other people and bang other people. Yeah. It's just not as frequent. Like a majority of our like sex with other people goes down in like a party scenario. So we like have friends over for a party and then there just so happens to be friends there that I have sex with. And so I have sex with them. But yeah, it's like I said, it's ever evolving and it's, you know, it's whatever you and the other person want it to be really. Hopefully you find a person that wants the same thing as you. There's 2 different kinds. Well, there's like a spectrum of poly. I call it like more closed off polyamory or more open polyamory. And like closed off polyamory would be like, okay, like, yeah, we can fuck other people, but like I have to know, and it can only be once a month. And there's like a lot of rules. And then open polyamory is like, you can kind of pretty much do it as you want, as long as I'm like informed. And there's like very minimal rules.
Yeah.
We're like probably 75% on, you know, more on the open version of it, which is what I prefer. I think that if we, you know, had to rate each of us individually, I would be on the 100% open and she would be on the like 60% open, which is, you know, we have clashes in that regard sometimes. but because we love each other and we want to be together, we try and accommodate and make it, what we both want, even though we have to give in to the other at some points. But overall, there's like a net positive of fun and good times, I think.
All right, dude.
That was a lot of stuff.
Let's end on that because I'm really fucking hungry.
Oh yeah,
and I'm gonna go get some In-N-Out.
Oh,
But
nice.
dude, just to close things off, Nick, I really appreciate you letting me come over, setting this up in your fucking living room, like in the midst. I bet you, like, dude, like, I really appreciate you taking time out of your like day and probably extremely busy week to like let this happen.
Yeah.
Stoked for the community, stoked for all the shit you're doing, and yeah, dude, I'm like glad that I like finally like, kind of get to meet you. So,
Yeah.
dude, I appreciate it,
Yeah,
bro.
absolutely.
You guys heard it from Nick. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this shit uploaded too, like this week, probably.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah, whatever.
You
It was
know how to
fun.
do like a quick like house tour.
Yeah.